Convenience of like if I'm on right now, if I'm probably just type it in the chat box. And then right now, is it clear? I think yes, I audible to all? Can you hear me? Type in a yes in the chat box if you can hear me.
Am I audible? If the participants can hear my voice, please type yes in the chat box. Okay, we are starting.
It's a very good evening to all. Here we have gathered for the briefing, the answer sessions, the discussion of 2023 prelims. I hope most of you have prepared for to the examinations. So in the panel section, let me now welcome Mr. Prasanna Kumar, IAS, former Chief Secretary for the State of Haryana. I welcome you, sir, in the session. In the panel, we have Mr. Abdul Shankar, Faculty Vedika Youth Academy, Mr. Shahul Hamid, Faculty Vedika Youth Academy, and myself, Shilpa Shashkaran, Faculty Vedika Youth Academy. So I hand over the session to Mr. Shankar.
Welcome to this discussion of the 2023 prelims GS1 paper. Some of you have already written this paper. Some of you might be hoping to write the prelims examination next year. What we will be doing today, that we will take up all the questions which were asked in this year's prelims examination, which were conducted on the 28th of May. We will discuss the answers. We will also discuss the context in which those questions were asked. And after that, we can have some type of discussion. If you have any questions or any query which you would like to ask us, please type it in the chat box so that we can keep a track of the questions which you have in mind and select more relevant questions and answer them live. I will also like to tell you about the serious prelims examination. Quite possibly, some of you might have found it very, very surprising because it is quite different from what you might have expected. That is quite natural because UPSC keeps changing its pattern every year. They keep changing it, and all of you who are aspiring to become civil servants are expected to expect the unexpected. Because as a civil servant, the situation will not be ready made. It will not come as expected. Unexpected things would happen in your career as a civil servant. And you should have the ability to handle situations that are not according to your care. And that is the type of quality which is expected from a potential civil servant. And the prelims examination, it is taken care by asking questions which are not on the expected lines. dependent on different the six songs, different subjects is also different. And I have found that the question really interesting to take decisions in a difficult situation. And that question that is being tested in the GS1 paper. I have found it difficult, but please take it from me. This is how you will face situations in your career as a sales representative also. So this is a preparation for that. Now we will take up the questions one by one. The very faculty who are sitting with me, they will hear each question, discuss the context in which it was asked, and also start with the versus she will take up the question.
Yes, sir. So moving on to the first session, first section, we have taken set A as the question paper. So if you have question paper with you, I would request you to have set A of prelims 2023 question paper. In that, the first question is about drainages or different rivers. First, the Jhelum River passes through Bular Lake. Second, Krishna River. Deepak sir, can I continue the session? Am I audible? Okay, fine. So yes, if you go through the news, you might have come across these rivers very often. The first sentence here, Jhelum River passes through Bular Lake. That is a correct sentence because the Bular Lake is the largest freshwater lake in the country, and Jhelum River, the Bular Lake controls the flow of Jhelum River. It passes through right past it. That is the correct answer. The second, Krishna River directly feeds Olive Lake. No, that is not the case. Krishna River, the Lake Olive Lake, it is fed by different streams. It is also seasonal, so that is wrong. And the third one, meandering of London River from Carver Lake. Yes, it is also known as Kavarthal's Lake. And it is because of the meandering of the river that it has been formed. So the answer
Hello, hello. Hello. അത് സൗണ്ട് ഓണാണ്. അല്ല അത് ഫുൾ സൗണ്ട് ഇത് ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റില്ല, മാക്സിമം ലോ ആക്കാൻ പറ്റുള്ളൂ. ലോ ആക്കിയാലും ഈ ഫോണിൽ കൂടെ കേൾക്കുന്ന പോലെ ചെറുതായിട്ട് കേൾക്കും അതിൽ. ടാബിൽ അങ്ങനെ ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റുള്ളൂ. ഹലോ 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 ഹലോ. ഓക്കെ. അല്ല സ്പീക്കർ ഓക്കെ ഇത് നമുക്ക് ഇല്ല.
Hello. Hello. Yeah. Hello. 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 ഇത് തന്നെയാ. ഹലോ. ഹലോ.
ഇവിടെ ക്ലിക്ക് ചെയ്യണ്ട.
Deepak sir, am I audible?
Yes. Shilpa, go ahead.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, so there was a small technical issue. I'm sorry for the inconvenience caused. Let's start with the session. I request you all have paper A, set A with you of prelims 2023. We are moving to the first question. Consider the following statements. First one, Jhelum River passes through Wular Lake. Both of it has been in news. And yes, Jhelum River passes right through Wular Lake. It actually controls the flow of Jhelum River. And Wular Lake, as you know, is the largest freshwater body in India, freshwater lake in India. And the second one, Krishna River directly feeds Kolleru Lake. No, the lake is actually fed by two different seasonal streams. That is wrong. Third one, and Kolleru Lake was in news because it was it made headlines due to the pollution in the lake. And third one, meandering of Gandak River formed Kanwar Lake. Yes, Kanwar Lake, also known as Kabar Tal. Yes, it is actually the meandering of Gandak River that is the cause for the formation of this lake, Kanwar Lake. So as you know, the pattern this time has completely changed. Last time there were only few questions wherein this type of options were asked, only one, only two. But this time, all the questions, mostly all the questions had this kind of option. The chance of eliminating is no more, you could say. Okay, so only if you know something, you'll be able to answer it. More or less, yes. Even if you have to eliminate, you'll have to concentrate on the sentences. If UPSC had made a mistake, that's where you have to concentrate. From the options, that's not possible from here on. Yes. Now the second question, first one. Yes, we have to match ports and why it is well known, why it is famous. Now the first one, Kamaraj Port, first major port in India registered as a company. Yes, that is right. It's in Chennai. Second, Mundra Port, largest privately owned port in India. Yes, it is in Gujarat. That is true. But the third one, Vishakhapatnam Port, it is not the largest container port in India. Jawaharlal Nehru Port, that is in Maharashtra, that is the largest container port in India. Now, ports often make headlines in the news. Now, you cannot actually say if it is because of the current affairs or if it is because of the syllabus that they ask this question. But all these ports, if not all these ports, at least some of the major ports in India had made headlines this time. Okay, so here the answer is B, only 2 pairs. Now, third one, yes, this question could be answered directly if you had studied NCERT properly. First one, jackfruit. Second, mahua. 3, teak. All the 3 are trees. And the question was, how many of the above are deciduous trees? Deciduous trees means those which shed their leaves in a season. Now, in a particular season, all of them shed their leaves together. Now, jackfruit doesn't shed the leaves in a season altogether because it's an evergreen tree. And mahua is dry deciduous and teak is moist deciduous. So the answer would be only 2 again, which is B. Now I hand over it to Shahul. Oh, sorry, Adul sir, take over the session.
So the fourth question, this is about a topic from agriculture. So this is a 3-statement question, and the first statement is about India has more arable area than China. So we know that even though India is the 7th largest country in the world in terms of area, in terms of arable area, which is cultivated land, India ranks first. So if you see the area wise, India, US, Russia, China, Brazil, these are the 5 countries with the largest arable land by area. So the first statement is true. The second statement, the proportion of irrigated area is more in India as compared to China. So we have all discussed this statement. We know tube well irrigation. The largest share of irrigated land in India is through tube well, followed by canal irrigation. Now, if you see the area of land in India under irrigation, it is 48% compared to 41% in China. So that statement is also true. Now, the third statement, the average productivity per hectare in Indian agriculture is higher than that of China. So we have been talking about, sustainable agricultural practices. And one major concern, if you look at the yield per hectare is relatively low. It is in India, it is around 2.7 tons per hectare compared to 4.7 tons. In fact, if you compare it with Egypt or with other developed nations also, the agricultural yield per hectare is low in India. So the third statement is true. So the average productivity third statement is false. The average productivity per hectare in Indian agriculture is not higher than that in China. In the question, it has been said that it is higher. So the option would be only two statements. So statement 1 and statement 2 are true and statement 3 is false. So the answer would be option B.
Now, regarding fifth question, which one of the following is the best example of repeated falls in sea level, giving rise to present-day extensive marshland? An indirect question related with wetlands. And you are already familiar with water wetlands, right? It's just like a transition zone between a land and a water areas. So over the last year, there is a report based on a repeated sea falls that is being reported from the part of Rann of Kutch. So a fifth question, option D, Rann of Kutch is the right answer because there is an increasing saline mudflats as well as increasing marshy areas that is being reported from those areas. So a fifth question, option D, Rann of Kutch.
Now moving to the sixth question. Ilmenite and rutile, abundantly available in certain coastal tracts of India, are a rich source of which one of the following? The answer here is titanium. Now, if you have observed the recent past question papers of UPSC, they have been asking many questions from minerals, especially that are available in the coastal sands of India. Okay, so there are basically this heavy mineral sources in the coastal sands. It is numbered to around 7, and 2 of them are sources for titanium. And India has rich, heavy mineral sands that could be harnessed. So ilmenite and rutile, as you see in the screen, are sources for titanium. Okay, so answer is D, titanium. And yes, now batteries that has been in news, we are moving to renewable energies. So batteries, it was mostly all the day, if you open the newspaper, you would see one or the other news of batteries and its sources. So, and yes, about 3/4 of world's cobalt, a metal required for the manufacture of batteries for electric motor vehicles, is produced by, the answer is C, the Democratic Republic of Congo. That is the answer. C, Democratic Republic of Congo. And yes, now if you see Africa as a continent for its resources as well as its geography, and also about the political turmoils that are happening there, also because of the economic situation of the continent and India's interest in the continent as a whole, and also because of the historical ties. UPSC likes Africa. And all the questions, the world geography questions mostly come from that area. And here it is not any different from the previous year question paper. Which one of the following is a part of the Congo Basin? Congo Basin, the answer is Cameroon. If you want a little bit more of information, wholly or partially, these are the areas that come under the Congo Basin, which is Angola, Gabon, Burundi, Cameroon, Central African Republic, Democratic Republic of Congo, Rwanda, Tanzania, and Zambia. So we have the answer as A, Cameroon. Now, Western Ghats and Eastern Ghats, ever favorite topics of UPSC. And also Eastern Ghats this time has been in previously 1 year, there has been, Red Sanders was related to time. Again, Eastern Ghats made headlines and questions have been asked related to that. Amarkandak Hills are at the confluence of Vindhya and Sahyadri ranges. No, Amarkandak Hills are towards the southeastern part of Madhya Pradesh. So not in the conjunction of Vindhyas and Sahyadri range, no. Biligiri Rangan Hills constitute the easternmost part of Satpura range. No, it belongs to the Eastern Ghats. And Sheshachalam Hills constitute the southernmost part of Western Ghats. No, Sheshachalam again is in the Eastern Ghats. This, look at the magazine, Eastern Ghats have been repeatedly covered in the magazine. So one or the other time, these mountain ranges, these hill ranges have come in the magazine as well as in, and especially in the previous year question paper, one who has gone through all this, it should be a cakewalk for that person, the candidate. Yes, yes, sir.
This question, you can do some elimination also, because if you know that Amarkandak hills are also the origin of Narmada River, then you can immediately conclude that Sahyadri ranges cannot have anything to do with Amarkandak hills. But Amarkandak hills is at the confluence of India and Satpura range. Probably the question is a misleading one, trying to mislead you, but if you know that Amarkantak is in Madhya Pradesh and it is from where the Narmada, then you can.
Exactly, sir, exactly. So now I pass on the questions to Atul.
So the 10th question, this is a question on infrastructure. So with reference to India's projects on connectivity, consider the following statements. So we have been hearing about Bharat Mala Pariyojana. So this is something related to infrastructure projects. Now, East-West corridor under Golden Quadrilateral project connects Dibrugarh and Surat. Now we know East-West corridor is a project that has been envisaged in order to ensure direct connectivity between east and western part of India, bypassing the, providing a corridor interconnectivity. Now this is between Silchar and Porbandar. So east-west corridor, the nodes are between Silchar in Assam to Porbandar in Gujarat, not between Dibrugarh and Surat. Trilateral highway connects Moreh in Manipur and Chiang Mai in Thailand via Myanmar. So we know India, Myanmar, Thailand, or trilateral highway. So this connect Moreh in Manipur and Masyot in Thailand. Then Bangladesh, China, India, Myanmar economic corridor connects Varanasi in Uttar Pradesh with Kunming in China. This BCIM corridor was present in our textbook. And when we discuss about all these corridors, these are all part of, neighborhood first policy to forge better connectivity of neighboring countries with India. So BCIM corridor, provides connectivity between Kolkata and Kunming in China. So basically all these corridors are meant, even railway lines have been envisaged through Bangladesh that would provide direct connectivity to Northeast India. So all these corridors are basically, whether it is road corridor or railway corridor, are meant to forge deeper connectivity of India with her neighboring countries. So answer would be none of the statements are true. So answer is option D.
So question number 11, that is based on assertion, a reason type question. So consider the following statements. Okay, statement 1. India, despite having uranium deposits, depends upon coal for most of its electricity production. Being a civil service aspirant, and when you look into the India's energy production, obviously we have come through that majority of the electricity production in India that we have met from coal. However, some of you have doubts whether India have uranium deposits or not. Okay, but actually, yes, we have. That is in Jadugat mines in Jharkhand. So if you have any doubt over statement 1, okay, just keep on aside. Just go through statement 2. Uranium enriched to the extent of at least 60% is required for the production of electricity. See, if it is above 50% uranium, that is basically used for the weapon grade uranium. Okay. If it is 90%, usually we use for the atomic bombs. So in case for the electricity production, it is just 3 to 5% is sufficient. So that particular word, at least 60%, that makes the statement too wrong, which means that there is only one option given over there. It's option C. Because when you look into option A, B, and D, all the given options have statement 1, statement 2 as correct. But in only option C, it is incorrect. So even you have a statement 1 that is supposed to be doubt over you, you are still able to answer the question. So it is option C. Statement 1 is correct, but statement 2 is incorrect. Then question number 12. Again, a similar question. Okay, just regarding how the elimination works. The marsupials are not naturally found in India. Maybe you are familiar with the term called the marsupials, right? So better than explaining what is marsupials, I would like to give you an example. Just imagine the kangaroo, okay? Now, the statement 1 is correct. The second statement, marsupials can thrive only in montane grasslands with no predators. Again, can thrive only. See, in case of the marsupials, you can found in arid and semi-arid regions also. Okay, so statement 2 is wrong. Again, only one option, option C. Statement 1 is correct and statement 2 is incorrect. So option C is the right answer to 12th question. Then question number 13. It's actually a current affair related question because from the lot of the news, okay, from different parts of the world, the invasive alien species that is being reported. So invasive species a specialist group that develops global invasive species database belongs to which one of the following organizations? So its answer is option A, IUCN or International Union for Conservation of Nature. It's actually based on a report that they have been released based on the different invasive species across the world. So question number 13, it's option A. Then 14th question. Consider the following faunas: lion-tailed macaque, Malabar civet, as well as Sampati. So the question is, how many of the above are generally nocturnal or most active after sunset? So nocturnal, it just means most active after sunset. As you know, the lion-tailed macaque that is endemic to the Western Ghats. And you cannot see these once the sunset. Okay, so basically they are active during the daytime. So lion-tailed macaque, that is not a nocturnal animal. But the rest of the two animals, Malabar civet as well as Sampati. So it's option B, only 2 is the right answer. The next is a direct question from your NCERT textbook. Okay, which of the following organism perform waggle dance for other of their kin to indicate the direction and the distance to a source of their food? And I hope at least some of you are able to answer it, even if you are answering some simple GK questions. Okay, it's option C, honeybees. Then 16th question, consider the following statements. So the 4 statements are given and you have to find out which of the above statements are correct actually. Now, in this question also, we will not need to understand each and everything regarding with the mushroom or whatever maybe its properties are there. Okay, just look into the question itself. Some mushrooms have medicinal properties. Yes, it can be, right? Then some mushrooms have psychoactive properties are there. Obviously, some mushrooms have insecticidal properties. Some mushrooms have bioluminescent properties. So regarding with this, you can see some over there. So whatever may be the things, you can see always there is an exception, right? So it's 16th question, all the given statements are correct. So it's option D, all 4 is the right answer. Then 17th question, it's actually a little bit a difficult question to trace out, even when you are thinking directly. Okay, consider the following statements regarding with the Indian squirrels. They build nests by making burrows in the ground. They store their food materials like nuts and seeds in the ground, and they are omnivores. So basically, when you think about the squirrels, you are supposed to eliminate statement 1. They build nests by making burrows in the ground. They're actually making their nest, not burrows in the ground. They're actually making their nest in trees. Okay, so statement 1 is wrong. The statement 2, obviously, this is how they are actually storing their foods in the form of nuts and seeds in the ground in order to hide it. Okay, so second statement is correct. But most of you get stuck over the third one, whether they are herbivorous or omnivorous, right? See, there is an exemption that there are some Indian squirrels, they found eating some very small mammals as well as insects. So in some cases, they are considered as omnivorous animals. So it's 17th question, it's option B. Only 2 is the right answer. Then 18th question, again, a sum, right? So consider the following statements. Some microorganisms can grow in environments with temperature above the boiling point of the water. That is basically above 100 degrees centigrade. obviously you can see there are some organisms are there. So statement 1 is correct. Some microorganisms can grow in environments with temperature below the freezing point of the water, that is below 0 degrees centigrade. Again, that is also correct. Some microorganisms can grow in highly acidic environment with a pH below 3. Obviously, because as I already mentioned, whatever may be the case that you have taken, you can see some sort of exemptions over. Okay, so in this given statements, UPSC has used the word some, but it is not always we can say the statements are correct, but in this case, it's correct. So 18th question, it's option C. All three is the right answer. 19th one is directly a factual question. Which one of the following make a tool with a stick to scrap insects from a hole in a tree or a log of a wood? So it's actually a very factual thing. You are only able to answer this question only if you know. Okay, so it's option B, orangutan. It's actually a kind of a name that you can find in India. Then 20th question, that is very important, especially Kigali Amendment to the Montreal Protocol that we have ratified and comes into force. So that is based on the elimination of hydrofluorocarbons or HFCs. As you know, we have introduced HFCs in order to substitute the chlorofluorocarbons, which is responsible for ozone depletion. However, the recent studies shows that the HFCs are actually contributing towards global warming. So they have come up with the Kigali Amendment to Montreal Protocol, that is in the year of 2019, but we have enforced it. So that is base of the question. So aerosols, foam agents, fire retardants, and lubricants. The question is, in the making of how many of the above are HFCs are being used? So it's option D, all 4. Because in all these cases, you can see some sort of traces regarding with HFCs. Okay, so 20th question, it's option D. All the 4 is the right answer.
So now question number 21. Question number 21 is a, assertion reasoning question. So the statement 1, interest income from deposits in infrastructure investment trust distributed to their investors is exempted from tax, but the dividend is taxable. So we have discussed about infrastructure investment trust as well as real estate investment trust and its significance with massive infrastructure, in project mobilization of resources. So the government has been actively promoting, infrastructure investment trust for mobilization of financial resources to finance infrastructure projects. And if you look at infrastructure investment trust, both the dividends as well as the interest, the returns received on investment in an infrastructure investment trust is taxable. Now, we also need to understand that the investment that we make in the infrastructure investment trust is also taxable as capital gains also. So when the investment appreciates, when the value of the investment appreciate, if it has been withdrawn within a period of 3 years, it would be taxable, or it would attract short-term capital gains tax of 15%. And if the investment has been withdrawn after a period of 3 years, still it would attract a capital gains tax, but it would attract a long-term capital gains tax of 10%. So we need to understand both the investment, if there is a value appreciation, there would be a tax applicable, and also the returns on investment in infrastructure investment trust also attract tax. Second statement, infrastructure investment trusts are recognized as borrowers under SARFAESI Act 2002, Securitization and Reconstruction of Financial Assets and Enforcement of Security Interest Act. In banking in India, we have seen the significance and utility of SARFAESI Act. Yes, infrastructure investment trusts are recognized as borrowers under SARFAESI Act of 2002. So basically, this is an act meant to resolve the issue of asset reconstruction for asset reconstruction purposes, which we have already discussed. So statement 1 is incorrect. Statement 2 is correct. Option D. Now, 22nd question. This is also a assertion reasoning question. Statement 1, in the post-pandemic recent past, many central banks worldwide had carried out interest rate hikes. In fact, the governor of Reserve Bank of India and leading economists have been pushing to formulate a uniform framework, or to serve, to formulate a coordination where the central monetary agency of respective countries can formulate a monetary policy. Because if United States Federal Reserve has hiked the policy rate, it would lead to a flight of capital that would lead to depreciation of Indian rupees, as we have seen in 2022. So we have been vociferously advocating for, a policy or a framework where the countries could come together and formulate certain guidelines with regard to, monetary policies. Now, it is in this context that, the US Federal Reserve started raising policy rates or repo rates since June 2022, after a, gap of almost 3 to 4 years. Now, we know the reason why the US Federal Reserve has hiked the policy rate was to address the issue of rising inflation. So statement 2, if you see, central banks generally assume that they have the ability to counteract the rising consumer prices via monetary policy means. Yes, especially in developed economies, the monetary transmission is strong, which means that when the policy rates are hiked, it can address the issue of rise in price of goods and services. So both the statements, statement 1 and statement 2, are individually correct, and statement 2 is the correct explanation of statement 1. Why do, banks, central banks carry out interest rate hikes? They believe that increasing the interest rate could address the issue of increase in price of goods and services in the market. So option would be A, which we have discussed in our current affairs magazine as well as in our test series.
So 23rd question, that is regarding with the climate change. Okay, you may be familiar with the term called the carbon markets. It's a market that you are able to sell or buy the carbon emission norms. So consider the following statements. Okay, statement 1. Carbon markets are likely to be one of the most widespread tools in the fight against climate change. As you know, the repeated news is coming related with the instance or what should be the importance of carbon markets and how we need to expand in order to fight against climate change. So statement 1 is correct because it is considered as one of the most effective tool in fight against climate change. So statement 1 is correct. Then statement 2, carbon market transfers resources from the private sector to the state. Actually, that seems to be a wrong statement because they are not transferring whatever may be the resources. Even though the governments can put what should be the cap of the carbon emission, or they can mobilize the resources, but it is not about the transfer. It is just actually engaging the private sectors to engage with the carbon management through the carbon markets. So statement 1 is correct and statement 2 is wrong. So it's option C. Okay. Statement 1 is correct, but statement 2 is wrong.
Now, question number 24. Which one of the following activities of the Reserve Bank of India is considered to be part of sterilization? So basically, we need to understand the concept of sterilization. Sterilization is a term which is used in macroeconomics to counterbalance the effect of foreign exchange intervention on money supply and inflation. Now, we know open market operation is a tool which is available at the disposal of the central bank of all countries. In case of India, it is Reserve Bank of India. Now we know open market operations is the selling and buying of government securities, and through which the Reserve Bank of India, tries to control the supply of money in the market and address the issue of inflation. So answer would be option A, conducting open market operations, selling and buying of government securities, G6. 25th question, this is a static question from economics, a easy question. Government bond market, call money market, treasury bill market, stock market. How many of the above are included in the capital market? We know government bond market. It is a debt market used to raise long-term debt capital to finance projects. So it is a capital market. Capital markets are basically long-term markets where financial markets where long-term financial instruments are traded. That is with a maturity of more than 364 days. Now, if you look at call money market, in that word itself, it says that the financial instrument is traded in a short-term market or in a market where the maturity period is less than 364 days. Call money market is a money market instrument. Treasury bill market, treasury bills are also money market instruments that can only be issued by a federal government. In case of India, that would be the center. And stock market is an equity market where shares are being traded. So stock market is a capital market. So answer would be only two. Here, government bond market and stock market are capital markets. Call money market and treasury bill markets, where call money instruments and treasury bills are traded. They are what we call as money market. We have discussed about London interbank overnight rate, Mumbai interbank overnight rate with regard to call money market. Okay, interbank overnight borrowing facility would be provided in this market for less than 1 day. Now, question number 26, which one of the following describes the concept of small farmer, large field? Now, this initiative is modeled along the large field model of Vietnam, and it is being implemented on a pilot basis in some villages across Odisha. So basically, the objective is to, collect, group together the farm tracts or land parcels of small and marginal farmers so that these land parcels can become a viable size that would be, suitable for farming on a remunerative basis. Otherwise, farming won't be remunerative, economically remunerative. So we know that, after land reforms and many generations, the farm lands have been fragmented. Now, most of these farmlands would be non-remunerative, or it won't be, profitable to engage in farming practices with such unviable farms land sizes. In an area organize themselves into groups and synchronize and harmonize selected agricultural operations. So this should be also understood in the context of how the center has been making efforts to introduce collective farming systems through federations. Question number 27. Consider the following statements. The government of India provides minimum support price for Niger seeds. So we know that the minimum support price regime has been skewed heavily towards what we call as fine cereals like wheat and rice. But recently the government has been making efforts to diversify the diet. And in that context, the center has started providing minimum support prices, or started including, a wide variety of agricultural crops under the minimum support price regime. and Niger seeds have been included under the MSP regime. Niger is cultivated as a kharif crop. That is true. Niger is also cultivated as a rabi crop too. But here the statement is true. Niger is cultivated as a kharif crop. Some tribal people in India use Niger seeds oil for cooking. That is also true. So all the statements are true. 1, 2, and 3.
The 28th question that is basically related with intellectual property rights and issues related with that. So the question is, consider the investments in the following assets. The first one, brand recognition, inventory, intellectual property, mailing list of clients. How many of the above are considered intangible investments? So basically, what is the difference between the term called a tangible and intangible? In case of the intangible, we are not determining the price by just looking into what is the physical assets, right? So in case of the inventory, just imagine a machine. You're supposed to determine what is its price by making what should be the making process, what should be its project cost, etc. But what about the brand recognition? For example, can you determine the price of the brand Toyota? No. Okay. So regarding this question, the second one, inventory, is an example for tangible investment. The other three, brand recognition, intellectual property, as well as mailing list of clients, that belongs to intangible investments. So option C, only 3 is the right answer.
Now coming to question number 29, consider the following: demographic performance, forest and ecology, governance reforms, stable government, tax and fiscal efforts. For the horizontal tax devolution, the 15th Finance Commission used how many of the above as criteria other than population, area, and income distance? So the criteria based upon which the 15th Finance Commission has determined the horizontal devolution of financial resources among states are: it has given a weightage or assigned a weightage of 15% for population, 15% for land area of the state or union territory for that matter, 10% forest cover, 45% for income disparity, 2.5% for tax and fiscal efforts, and 12.5% for demographic performance. Now, what is the question? The question is, for the horizontal tax devolution, the 15th Finance Commission used how many of the above as criteria other than population, area, and income? So demographic performance has been included. Forest and ecology, that is the forest cover, that has been included. Governance reforms, no weightage has been assigned. Stable government, no weightages has been assigned. Tax and fiscal efforts, yes. So 1, 2, and 5. Answer would be option B, only 3. Question number 30. Consider the following infrastructure sectors: affordable housing, mass rapid transport, healthcare, renewable energy. On how many of the above does UNOPS Sustainable Investments in Infrastructure and Innovation Initiative focus for its investments? So the UNOPS Sustainable Investments in Infrastructure and Innovation Initiative focused its attention on affordable housing, health care, and renewable energy. Only 3. It didn't make any focus on mass rapid transport. 31st question. This is a question from Polity. In essence, what does due process of law means? So we have already discussed about due process of law and procedure established by law in the context of judicial review. Now, what does due process of law means? So due process of law means a fair application of law. A due process of law means a fair application of law. We have adopted, or the Indian Constitution has adopted, a procedure established by law, a judicial review under a procedure established by law from Japanese Constitution. But the broad concept of judicial review the Indian Constitution, present in the Indian Constitution has been adopted from US Constitution, but US Constitution has a judicial review under due process of law, where dual test is being carried out. But in case of India, where we have a judicial review and procedure established by law, we have a single test. We have discussed about it in our classes. Then question number 32. This is a assertion reasoning question. Statement 1: in India, prisons are managed by state governments with their own rules and regulations for day-to-day administration of prisons. That is true. In India, prisons are managed by the state governments. In India, prisons are governed by Prisons Act of 1984, which expressly kept the subject of prisons in the control of provincial governments or state governments. That is also true. So both statement 1 and statement 2 are correct, and statement 2 is the correct explanation of statement 1. Now question number 33. Which one of the following statement best reflects the chief purpose of constitution of a country? We know when we talk about India, we say that we have a constitutional government over here. So what do you mean by constitutional government? A government whose boundaries are restricted by the provisions present in the constitution. So it defines and limits the powers of the government. So basically, the purpose of the constitution is to set boundaries for the government so that the government itself do not act in a tyrannical manner. Okay. So the chief purpose of the constitution of the country is to set the limit, define and limit the powers of the government. Question number 34. In India, which one of the following constitutional amendments was widely believed to be enacted to overcome the judicial interpretations of the fundamental rights? It is the First Amendment Act of 1951. Right after the inauguration of the Constitution of India on January 26, 1950, within 1 year, we have made the first amendment that set out or that put certain restrictions over fundamental rights, especially with regard to Article 19(3). Now, when we talk about the First Amendment, the most prominent provision within the First Amendment was with regard to putting certain restrictions to the freedom of speech and expression. So literally made the fundamental rights not absolute in nature, but but subject to certain restrictions. Then apart from that, there were also other provisions within the First Amendment Act of 1951, and we have covered the First Amendment of 1951 in our Current Affairs magazine. So First Amendment was in news, especially with regard to, the limits of freedom of speech and expression. So Supreme Court has made certain remarks on freedom of speech and expression, taking, certain instances from First Amendment. 35th question. This is a very simple question. And consider the following organizations or bodies in India. You are supposed to find out the bodies which are constitutional bodies, organizations or bodies. So the National Commission for Backward Classes, through Constitution 103rd Amendment, it has been accorded a constitutional status in 2019. So it was originally constituted as a statutory body. Now it is in the League of National Commission for Scheduled Caste, National Commission for Scheduled Tribes, constitutional bodies. National Human Rights Commission, we know it is a statutory body. National Law Commission, it is constituted through an executive order. National Consumer Disputes Redressal Commission is also a statutory body. So the answer would be option A, one only. Sorry, not one only, only one. Only one. 36th question. 36th question is also was an expected question in the context of presidential elections that was held on June 2022. If the election of the President of India is declared void by the Supreme Court of India, all acts done by him or her, that is the president, in performance of duties of his or her office of president before the date of decision become invalid, which is a false statement. If the Supreme Court has, declared the elections to the office of the President of India as invalid or void, all the decisions taken by the President before the verdict of the Supreme Court that makes the election invalid would be not declared invalid. Okay, so only those decisions that would be taken after would be declared invalid, not before. So that statement is false. Election for the post of president can be postponed on grounds that some legislative assemblies have been dissolved and elections are yet to take place. That is a false statement, because we know that there could be instances where president's rule would be enforced in certain states, and that should not be a reason why the elections to the office of president be postponed. Logical statement. When a bill is presented to the President of India, the Constitution prescribes time limits within which he or she has to declare his or her as a no. The President of India has, pocket veto powers, has suspensory veto powers. So basically, absolute veto power. So basically, the Constitution of India does not prescribe any time limit or any time frame or timeline within which the President of India has to give an assent to a bill duly passed by both houses of the Parliament on identical terms. So none of these statements, all the statements are false. So answer would be option D, none. 37th question, with reference to finance bill and money bill in Indian Parliament, consider the following statements. And the first concept that you need to understand is that finance bill is in fact a money bill. So when Lok Sabha transmits finance bill to the Rajya Sabha, it can amend or reject the bill. We know that the Rajya Sabha only has the power to suggest amendments to a bill duly passed by the Lok Sabha or the lower house. So statement 1 is false. When Lok Sabha transmits money bill to the Rajya Sabha, it cannot amend or reject the bill. It can only make recommendations. Statement 1. Statement 2 is true. Statement 1 is false. Now, statement 3. In case of disagreement between Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, there is no joint sitting for money bill, but a joint sitting becomes necessary for finance bill. So what I told you, finance bill is in fact a money bill. So we know there is no, there is no joint sitting made available, or there is no provision for joint sitting under Article 108 of the Indian Constitution in event of disagreement or a legislative deadlock between Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha with regard to a money bill in general. So finance bill is a part of money bill. So statement 3 is also false. So answer would be only one, option A.
Question number 38, that is regarding community reserves. As you know, the way of conservation of biological diversity can be done in situ and ex situ ways. So community reserves are basically an example belongs to in situ conservation, that is conservation within its natural environment. So basically they are a kind of an example of bottom-up approach that is involving the locals over the management of biological diversity. So once the central government notifies an area as a community reserve, okay, so they have given the 4 statements. The chief wildlife warden of the state becomes the governing authority of such forest. That is mentioned under section 33 of Wildlife Protection Act. So statement 1 is correct. Hunting is not allowed in such area. That is true. People of such areas allowed to collect non-timber forest produce. The peoples are allowed for the collection of minor forest produce, but not major. So third statement is also correct. people of such areas are allowed traditional agricultural practice, that is a wrong statement. For example, you may be familiar with the Jhum cultivation or slash and burn cultivation practice that you can commonly found over the northeastern parts of India. So fourth statement is wrong because whenever a particular forest is declared as a community reserve, then people are over such areas are not allowed for traditional agricultural practices. So only three, option C is the right answer.
39th question. This is a question on scheduled areas. With reference to scheduled areas in India, consider the following statements. Within a state, the notification of an area as scheduled area takes place through an order of the president. So this is a thumb rule. Anything with regard to scheduled area, the president of India enjoys the real powers. And with regard to, sixth schedule areas, it is the governor that enjoys the real powers. So we are talking about fifth schedule areas, that is scheduled areas, not the tribal areas in Assam, Meghalaya, Tripura, and Mizoram. So within a state, the notification of an area, scheduled area, takes place through an order of the President of India, Article 244, Clause 1. The largest administrative unit forming the scheduled area is the district, and lowest is the cluster of villages in the block. That is also a true statement. Now, the third statement, the chief ministers of the concerned states are required to submit annual reports to Union Home Ministry on administration of scheduled area in states. That is a false statement. It is the state governor that has to submit a report to the President of India on a periodic basis, as and when demanded by the President of India. So answer would be only two statements. Statement 1 is correct. Statement 2 is correct. So option B, only two statements are true. And 40th question, consider the following statement. This is an assertion reasoning question. The Supreme Court of India has held in some judgments that the reservation policy is made under Article 16, Clause 4 of the Constitution of India would be limited by Article 335 for maintenance of efficiency of administration. So this is with regard to the appointment to public officers, and the Supreme Court has made certain remarks to ensure the efficiency, maintenance of efficiency of administration with regard to reservation to public officers. So that is correct. Now, Article 335 of the Constitution of India defines the term efficiency of the administration. If anyone who has gone to the Constitution of India would find it, would know that the no article in Constitution of India usually define. For example, the Constitution, no article in Constitution of India do not define the grounds for disqualification. Rather, all these are being prescribed in a law enacted by the Parliament. So, no, the Article 335 of the Constitution of India defines the term efficiency of the administration. That is a false statement. Usually, in Constitution of India, no article, in fact, defines or list out, defines the terms or list out the grounds. So it is usually set up, usually the article would empower the Parliament to make laws. And it is in these laws enacted by the Parliament that, that sets out the grounds for disqualification or that defines the certain terms. Now, statement 2 is incorrect. So if statement 2 is incorrect, option C. Statement 1 is correct. Statement 2 is incorrect. So you might have heard about M. Nagaraj and others versus Union of India 2006 case that was with regard to, reservation to public office.
Moving on to the 41st question. This could have been a little bit tough if you had not known what Dhanya Kataka, the other name, or where it is located. See, in which one of the following regions was Dhanyakataka, which flourished as a prominent Buddhist center under the Mahasanghhikas located? Now, it's actually close to Amravati, or you could say that it was also known for Amravati, known as Amravati was also known, you could say, as Dhanyakataka, because now today it's located in the Amravati district. So it belongs to Andhra. Okay, so the answer is A. Mostly related to Buddhism, but a little bit of it was a difficult question, in fact. Now, 42nd question. With reference to ancient India, consider the following statements. The concept of the first sentence. Now, this is a sentence that basically UPSC can be in trouble because the concept of stupa in Buddhist is Buddhist in origin. See, there are standard textbooks that say that the concept of stupa is not Buddhist in origin because uh, the idea of stupa, it was there even before the Buddhism in fact took its real shape. Okay, but the stupa as we know right now in history, if you think of it like that, then the origin can be Buddhism. But the idea of stupa or the use of stupa, it did not start with Buddhism as a religion. Okay, so that can be somewhere UPSC can be in trouble, but then I'd go for the concept of stupa. It's not Buddhist in origin because that is mentioned in standard textbooks. So one first statement is wrong. Stupa was generally a repository of relics. Yes, the relic casket wherein the remains of the mortal the bodily remains of Buddha and other disciples and the important things that they used was stored. And stupa was a votive and commemorative structure in Buddhist tradition that we have studied all through Buddhism and all through ancient India. So yes, second and third statement, B, only two should be the answer. But let's wait for the answer key of UPSC anyway. 43rd question now. Even if you don't read the question also, the same style, same kind of question has been repeated in the last few years of UPSC. It's even if you do not read the question also, you can directly go to the answer, which is ports. That is Korkai, Pompuhar, Puhar or Kaveri Patnam, and Muchiri or Muziris or Kodungalur, today's Kodungalur. All of them are ports of Pandya, Chola, and Chera, respectively. That's mentioned in Sangam literature. This is the first thing that we study when we study about Sangam literature. So the answer is B, ports. Last year, something related to Chaul, the port Chaul was asked, and then Kakatiya dynasty's port was also asked. So I have been repeatedly saying ports are important. You must study it. And 44th question, Vadakirtal. Now, Vadakirtal, we don't really study in Sangam period when we study for UPSC. We study that aspect when we go for a little bit of deep studies, usually in post-graduation and all. But yes, Vadakirtal, if you are from Kerala, you have a little bit of advantage wherein you must have heard this in the mythical story. The kings, they commit suicide or they ask their king to just cut off their head or they kill themselves if they're defeated in a battle. So that means D is the answer. A king defeated in a battle, committing ritual suicide by starving himself to death. And the mythical or the legend says that his whole family or the kings also starve with him. Okay, so there are many stories that follow, but basically the idea is a king defeated in a battle committing suicide. That is called Vatakirtal in, and it's also mentioned in Sangam poems. Yes, because it's full of war ethics and heroes. Yes. 45th question. Yeah. Now the time period. Now herein they have asked about the second phase of early medieval period. You would have been able to answer this only if you were aware about the different dynasties and also if you were aware about the timeline of medieval India, which is early medieval, and early medieval is divided into two. And all these powers, which is Hoysala, Gadwala, Kakatiya, Yadava, comes in the second phase of early medieval. So none of them are in the 8th century. The question is like, how many of the above dynasties established their kingdoms in early 8th century AD? None, basically, yes, none. And 46th question, again, there is a little bit controversy over here. See, Devi Chandraguptam, not written by Bilhana, it's written by Vishagadatta. Hamira Mahakavya, it's a biography of Hamira Chahamana king, actually written by Naya Chandra Suri. That is right. First one is wrong. Second one is right. Third one, that is where the problem lies. Milinda Panho is a conversation between the Indo-Greek king Menander, which is our Milinda, and Nagasena. Now, R. Sharma in his book has written Nagarjuna for Nagasena. That is a problem, then the answer key can change. But technically saying Nagarjuna is wrong. It's Nagasena. And Niti Vakyamrita is written by Somadeva Suri. So the answer, if you ask me, is B, only two. But then if Nagarjuna and Nagasena, if it is one as said by R. Sharma, then it can be a problem. The only option is to wait for the answer key of UPSC. 47th question is the simplest question that have ever appeared in the history of UPSC. Basically, souls are not only the property of animal and plant life, but also of rocks. You just do not have to read any further because that is said by Jainism. Jainism says that not just living things, all the things that we see around, this chair, this table, everything has soul. So Jainism is the answer. 48th question, since the victory city of Salman Rushdie was a news. It made headlines. We have been repeatedly saying that Vijayanagara will be asked. Otherwise, also it was asked Vijayanagara Empire, one of the favorites of UPSC. And who among the following rulers of Vijayanagara Empire constructed a large dam across Tungabhadra River and a canal come aqueduct several kilometers long from the river to the capital cities? Devaraya I. Devaraya I is the answer. Yes. Who among the following, 49th question, who among the following rulers of medieval Gujarat surrendered due to Portuguese? See, if you look at the 18th century India, wherein during that period, or not 18th century, you go to the coming of the European period. Okay. During that period, Gujarat, during that period, it was ruled by Bahadur Shah. Now, also during that period, the Arab traders, they were overthrown. The dominating power in the Arabian Sea came to be the Portuguese. So there was this skirmish between Arab traders and the Portuguese for a monopoly over Arabian Sea. Okay, in that case, Gujarat and Turkish rulers had an alliance to overthrow Portuguese. But what happened is that Humayun, during that period, attacked Bahadur Shah. Okay, so to get the support of the Portuguese, Bahadur Shah actually gives some part of the place that he owns to Portuguese. And that is where the answer to this question lies. So the medieval ruler of Gujarat who surrendered due to Portuguese was Bahadur Shah.
Now, question number 50. By which one of the following acts was the Governor General of Bengal designated as the Governor General of India? So it is the Charter Act of 1833 that designated the Governor General of Bengal as the Governor General of India. Lord William Bentinck served as the last Governor General of Bengal and the first Governor General of India through the Charter Act of 1833. 51st question. Consider the following statements in relation to Janani Suraksha Yojana, what we popularly call as Pradhan Mantri Janani Suraksha Yojana. Pradhan Mantri Janani Suraksha Yojana was discussed in our test series as well as it is in our current affairs magazine. It is a safe motherhood intervention of state health departments. No, it has been rolled out as part of National Rural Health Mission. I believe that is the reason why the Pradhan Mantri, that prefix, has been avoided. But it is a Pradhan Mantri Janani Suraksha Yojana is a safe motherhood intervention of National Rural Health Mission or National Health Mission. Its objective is to reduce maternal and neonatal mortality among poor pregnant women. Yes, that is a correct statement. Janani Suraksha, motherhood, safe program. It aims to promote institutional delivery among poor pregnant women. That is also the objective of Pradhan Mantri Janani Suraksha Yojana. So basically what institutional delivery means, giving birth in a hospital or giving birth under a, you know, in not only in institutional facility, but even if under a, under a medico, under a doc, under the guidance of a, where a doctor or an auxiliary nurse is present. So not necessarily that the delivery has to take place in a hospital. That is not necessary what we mean by institutional delivery. So statement 3 is also true. Fourth statement, its objective includes providing public health facilities to sick infants up to 1 year of age. No, that is not the objective of Pradhan Mantri Janani Suraksha Yojana. So answer would be statement 2 and statement 3 are true. So that would be only 2 statements. Question number 52. Consider the following statements in the context of interventions being undertaken under Anemia Mukt Bharat strategy. It provides prophylactic calcium supplementation for preschool children, adolescent and pregnant women. No, prophylactic, iron folic acid supplementary program. So, prophylactic means intake that do not, create any issues. Okay, prophylactic that do not have any adverse effect, prophylactic. Then it runs a campaign for delayed cord clamping at the time of childbirth. That is true. It provides for periodic deworming to children and adolescents. Yes, tablets would be given for deworming. And it addresses non-nutritional causes of anemia in endemic pockets with special focus on malaria, hemoglobinopathies, and fluorosis. That is also true. So statement 1 is false. Statement 2, statement 3, statement 4. Only 3 statements are correct. Option C.
Now, 53rd question. So that is basically based on current affairs, nanotechnology over carbon compounds. Consider the following statements. Carbon fibers are used in manufacturing of compounds, used in automobiles and aircraft. In your NCERT textbooks in 10th standard, you can see a chapter, carbon and its compounds. And when you compare UPSC syllabus part, nanotechnology. So one of the most area where nanotechnology is applied for the modification of the element, that is carbon. So the statement 1 is correct, because we have already learned regarding with what is the significance of carbon nanotubes being 100 times more than the strength of the steel. So statement 1 is correct. Second statement, carbon fibers once used cannot be recycled. That is a wrong statement. Even some sort of carbon compounds have self-cleaning property itself, and they are auto-renewable. So second statement is wrong. So the question is to find out the correct statement. So option A, 1 only is the right answer. Then 54th question. It's actually a direct question from science and technology. So detection of car crash or collision, which result in the deployment of airbags almost instantaneously. Detection of accidental free fall of laptops towards the ground, which result in immediate turning off the hard drive. Detection of tilt of a smartphone, which result in a rotation of display between portrait and landscape. So the question is, which of the above actions in the functions of accelerometer is required? See the term called acceleration, that is something connected with motion and velocity, right? So all the given statement are some sort of statements that is directly or indirectly connected with motion or velocity. So whatever may be the instances, we have to deploy the accelerometer or the sensors, we can assume with that. So 54th question, it is all 3. Option C is the right answer. 55th question. Again, one of the current affair related question, that is biofilters. With reference to the role of biofilters in recirculating aquaculture system, consider the following statements. Statement 1, biofilters provide waste treatment by removing uneaten fish feeds. Yes, that is exactly correct. And what is the primary function of biofilter? Biofilters are generally used in aquaculture systems in order to remove the uneaten fish food and in order to convert them into ammonia so that it can be effectively utilized by the plants. So that is basically the second statement is biofilters converts ammonia present in the fish waste to nitrates. So the first and second statement is correct. Third statement, biofilters increase phosphorus as nutrient for fish in water. That is a wrong statement because phosphorus is not an essential food material that is required for the growth of fish. So that is not the function with biofilters. So first and second statement is correct. Third one is wrong. So option B, only two is the right answer.
Now, if you go to 56 question, it's object in space and its description. So the first one, say feeds, second one nebulae, third one pulsars. Now, if you read through, this is basically NCRT chapters and also a little bit of surfing through ISRO and NASA websites, you get the answer. Also, the science and technology part of the Hindu has covered this portion. Cepheids, they are actually stars which brighten and dim periodically. And nebulae, if you have studied the Big Bang theory and also if you read NCRT, you'd know that they are giant clouds of dust and gas in space. They have been interchanged. Cepheids, the second one is the option, description. Nebulae, the first one is the description. And pulsars, yes, they are neutron stars that are formed when massive stars run out of fuel and collapse. Pulsars. So here only one is right. So they have asked about correctly matched pairs, only one. Answer is only one, A.
57th question, that is again based on current affairs and a direct question from Vedic Narrator series. Which one of the following countries have its own satellite navigation system? See, recently, if you go through the newspaper, one of the order that has been made by the government of India, that the phones that is coming from 2025 onwards, they should be equipped with whatever may be the transmitters that can receive, the receivers that was able to receive the signals from Navik. Okay, maybe that was the context. So over the given state countries, it's Japan, and their satellite navigation system is known as QEZ-ASS. So option D is the right answer. 58th question, again a direct question from Vedic preliminary test series. That is regarding the basic difference between the ballistic missiles and cruise missiles. So statement 1, ballistic missiles are jet propelled at subsonic speeds throughout their flights, while cruise missiles are rocket powered only in the initial phase of flight. See, when you consider the basic difference between the ballistic and the cruise missiles, it is the ballistic missiles which is powered by means of rockets. And the cruise missiles, they are exactly a jet propelled systems. So statement 1 is wrong. Then second statement, Agni 5 is a medium range supersonic cruise missile. Recently, we have tested Agni 5 its full potential. So Agni 5 is an example for a ballistic missile, not a cruise missile. So again, second statement is wrong. Then remaining statement, BrahMos is a solid fuel intercontinental ballistic missile. Again, that is a wrong statement. So first and second statement is wrong, but the question is to find out the correct statements. So option D, neither one, no two is the right answer. Then 59th question. Again, a question from the part of environmental pollution and degradation. Consider the following statements regarding mercury pollution. See, over the classes, we have already learned regarding mercury pollution as well as Minamata Convention. So gold mining activity is the source of mercury pollution in the world. Yes, the mercury seems to be one of the most polluted material, and that seems to be the gold mining activity is one of its source. So statement 1 is correct. Coal-based thermal power plants cause mercury pollution. When you consider the case of coal, especially the low-grade coal, you can see the presence of mercury over there. Again, second statement is correct. Third statement, there is no non-safe level for exposure to mercury. That is also correct. At present level, there is no standard safe level regarding the exposure to mercury. So all the given statements are correct. So it's option C. All three is the right answer. Then 60th question, that is regarding hydrogen or the use of green hydrogen as an internal combustion engines. See, what is basically the internal combustion engines, sir? Whatever may be the engines that we generally use, the petroleum or whatever may be the crude oil as the fuels. Recently, the Reliance has unveiled a green or hydrogen powered internal combustion engine with the collaboration with Ashok Leyland. So that might be the context of asking this question. So basically, what is meant by the term called green hydrogen? It is nothing but when we are making hydrogen from renewable sources. For example, if we are utilizing solar energy for the production of hydrogen, we call them as green hydrogen. So statement one, it can be directly used as a fuel for internal combustion engines. Yes, that is exactly demonstrated by Reliance Ashok Leyland. So statement one is correct. It can be blended with natural gas and can be used for heat or power generation. That is already asked in 2020 UPSC preliminary question. Okay, hydrogen compressed natural gas. So second statement is also correct. It can be used in hydrogen fuel cells to run vehicles. Again, that is correct. So basically, the question is related with the application of hydrogen as a fuel, especially as a future fuel. So 60th question, all the statements are correct. So option C, all three is right answer.
Now, question number 61. Consider the following countries: Bulgaria, Czech Republic, Hungary, Latvia, Lithuania, Romania. How many of the above mentioned countries share a land border with Ukraine? Now, this question has been asked in the context of Russian aggression on Ukraine. And most of you might have heard about Belarus, a country that lies to the north of Ukraine, where they have mobilized forces in event of Ukraine making any transgression across the border. Belarus is an ally of Russia. Poland is a country through which India has evacuated students as well as Indian citizens in Ukraine. So is Slovakia and Hungary. These are countries that lies to the west of Ukraine. Romania and Moldova, these are countries that lies to the south of Ukraine. So Bulgaria, Czech Republic, Latvia, Lithuania, these are countries that do not share any border with Ukraine. The countries that share a border with Ukraine among the given options are Hungary and Romania. So the answer is A, only two.
Now we have a few geography questions that follow. So herein you will have to apply a little bit of common sense. And also these questions need conceptual clarity. Only then would you be able to apply what you have learned to the questions that are asked. Okay. So having said that, 60-second question. With reference to Earth's atmosphere, which one of the following statement is correct? Now, have mind and think in a layman perspective in the with using common sense. See, the total amount of insolation received at the equator is roughly about 10 times of that received at the poles. No, we don't have that kind of variation from equator to poles, even though there are 6 months sunlight and 6 months dark in the poles, we don't have that kind of variation. All right, it's like 3 to 4% or 5 to 6% more, but not 10 times more. All right, that is a wrong sentence. B, infrared rays constitute roughly 2/3 of insolation. Use common sense. No, maximum to 40%, not more than that. The insolation, it constitute different things, different components in that. And infrared rays, 2/3 of it, you should have good presence of mind and good common sense to eliminate that sentence. Third one, infrared waves are largely absorbed by water vapor that is concentrated in the lower atmosphere. That is true. Now, don't think about the insolation coming to Earth and the heat that is radiated out of Earth and then water vapor absorbing it. But you pick out the best of the answer from what is given in the four statements. Look at the fourth statement now. First and second, no way that is going to be right. Fourth one, infrared waves are a part of visible spectrum of electromagnetic waves. Absolutely not. That's not a part of visible spectrum. So what we have here is C. Infrared waves are largely absorbed by water vapor, which is a greenhouse gas, you can call that. That is concentrated in the lower atmosphere. That is the right answer there. C. Okay, coming to the 63rd question. assertion reason? Yes. Statement 1. The soil in tropical rainforest is rich in nutrients. Second, the high temperature and moisture of tropical rainforest cause dead organic matter in the soil to decompose quickly. Now, the answer is D, which is statement 1 is incorrect, statement 2 is correct. Why? Because in tropical region, the high temperature and moisture, it makes the decomposition faster. So it helps the growth of plants also quickly. That is true. But because of the rain, the nutrient rich soil, whatever there is, get leached out. Okay, it gets washed out. And so the nutrients there, it's either absorbed by the plants for the growth or it's washed off because of the rain. So the soil of tropical rainforest is not rich in nutrients. And the second statement is right. Yes. So D is the answer. Statement 1 is incorrect, but statement 2 is correct. Now here you have to think a little bit. See, the temperature contrast between continents and oceans is greater during summer than in winter. Think about it. During summer, the sunlight comes, both ocean and the land absorbs it. Okay, yes, land gives out the heat a little bit faster than the ocean, but still both both the spheres are hot. Now you think about this, the winter that follows, okay, after summer. In the winter, you if you think of it like that, the the heat held by the ocean, they keep it for long, but the land cools off faster. So this difference is more in winter than in summer. Okay. But again, here I have seen different answers from different sources. It would have been easier if UPSC made the sentence a little more specific. But for now, using whatever resources we have, this first statement doesn't seem to be right. It's wrong. Second one, the specific heat of water is more than that of land surface. That is right. But it's not seasonal. It's all through the year. That property remains the same. The specific heat of water is more than that of land. So the correct statement has to be D, which is statement 1 is incorrect, but statement 2 is correct. Okay. 65 directly from NCRT. In a seismograph, P waves are recorded earlier than S waves. Yes, primary and secondary waves. Primary waves are recorded. Second one, you'll have to go through the NCRT textbook, I think of 11th or 12th standard. The smaller classes do not explain it that much. But yes, in P waves, the individual particles vibrate to and fro and it's in the direction of the wave. But the S waves, the particle vibrate like down at right angles to the motion of the wave. So both of the sentences are right. NCRT knowledge, basic NCRT knowledge, both 1 and 2, they are right. 65, answer is C.
Now, based on 66th question, that is basically from the energy generation. With reference to coal-based thermal power plants in India, consider the following statements. You can see 1, 2, and 3 statements are there, and all these are kind of an extreme statements. None of them use seawaters. In some power plants in India, especially the coal-based, they are using seawaters as the coolants. So statement 1 is wrong. Statement 2, none of them set up in water-stressed district. Again, a wrong statement. According to a report, it shows that 40% of coal-powered thermal-based power plants that is situated in water-stressed district. So again, second statement is wrong. Third one, none of them is privately owned. Again, a wrong statement. In our country, our industrialists, the Tata, Reliance, they're actually operating their own coal-based thermal power plants. So all the given statements are correct. The UPA line statements are correct. So it's option D. None is the right answer. 67th question. Wolbachia method is sometimes talked about with reference to which one of the following. So you may be familiar that arresting the disease spreading mosquitoes by means of attacking with Wolbachia bacteria. The male will be infected with the Wolbachia bacteria. They comes in contact or they mate with the female disease causing mosquitoes. They will fail to reproduce so that it will gradually reduce. So it's related with option A, controlling the viral disease spread by mosquitoes. It's option A is the right answer to 67th question.
Now, 68th question, it's about carbon sequestration. Carbon sequestration means you take out the excess carbon from the atmosphere through some technology, and then you put it underground or somewhere safe so as to remove the excess carbon dioxide to control the global warming that is plaguing the world right now. So yes, first one, spreading finely ground basalt rock on farmlands extensively, and this reaction causes a carbon to be involved and to take out carbon from the atmosphere. That is true. Increase the alkalinity of ocean by adding lime. So that means if you're adding lime to ocean, the ocean becomes more alkaline in nature, and that increases the potential of the ocean to absorb more carbon dioxide. Okay. Now, third one, capturing carbon dioxide released by various industries and pumping it into abandoned and subterranean mines in the form of carbonated waters. That is also there. Now, feasibility and its practicality, they're all other things. That's not asked. But what they've asked is how many of the above activities are often considered and discussed for carbon capture and sequestration? All of them. All the three are considered and discussed also. So answer is C, all three.
69th question, that is basically related with biotechnology. Aerial metagenomics best refers to which one of the following situations? So they have given the 4 options. So basically, when you go through all the 4 options, they are very close related options, right? Collecting DNA samples from air in a habitat at one go, understanding the genetic makeup of avian species of a habitat, using airborne devices to collect blood samples of moving animals, sending drones to inaccessible areas to collect plants and animal samples from land surface and water bodies. That is basically a pure current affair related topic related with biotechnology, and that is option A, collecting DNA samples from air in a habitat at one go. 70th question, microsatellite DNA. So that is basically based on biotechnology NCERT textbook. Short tandem repeats. We collectively call them as short tandem repeats or STR, microsatellites. So microsatellite DNA is used in which of the following? So it's again option A. That is based on studying the evolutionary relationship among various species of fauna. So option A is the right answer to 70th question.
So question number 71. Consider the following statements with reference to India. According to Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises Development Act of 2006, the medium enterprises are those with investments in plant and machinery between 15 crore and 25 crore. So we know that Section 6 of Micro, Small, Medium Enterprises Development Act of 2006 prescribes the criteria based upon which the enterprises are classified as micro, small, and medium enterprises. And we have discussed this in our class in context of Pradhan Mantri Mudra Yojana. Now, earlier, the categorization of these enterprises was, they were categorized as manufacturing-based micro, small, medium enterprises and service-based micro, small, medium enterprises. But we know at present, no product is either a good or a service, it is both a good and a service. And in this context, an amendment was introduced and a new category, a new kind of categorization was introduced, giving off. We currently do not classify manufacturing-based micro, small, medium enterprises or service sector-based micro, small, medium enterprises. Rather, we now have adopted a composite-based categorization where we are categorizing micro enterprises, small enterprises, and medium enterprises, or we are categorizing them into micro, small, and medium enterprises based upon the investment and turnover. So if the investment is up to 1 crore and turnover is 5 crore, then we call such enterprises as micro enterprises. If the investment is up to 20 crore and turnover is 100 crore, we call them as, or we categorize them as small enterprises. And if the turnover investment on machinery is up to 50 crore and turnover is 250 crore, then we categorize these enterprises as medium enterprises, irrespective of whether they are manufacturing based or service sector based. So the statement 1 is false. Now, statement 2. All bank loans to micro, small, and medium enterprises qualify under priority sector. So basically, what is being asked is whether all bank loans to micro, small, and medium enterprises can be categorized or can be included under priority sector lending. The answer is false. First thing is that there are certain categories. If a bank loan of more than 30 crore rupees is given to a small enterprise for setting up of a plant, renewable captive energy plant, then that won't be categorized as a priority sector. The bank cannot, claim the loan given to a small enterprise, a loan of 30 crore to set up a captive solar plant for a small enterprise as a priority sector lending. So not all, even if you don't know the statement 2, don't know the details about statement 2, we know that such extreme statements, all, it usually would be false. So using that logic, we can say that statement 2 is also false. So the answer would be neither 1 nor 2. But if you want to answer the first statement, then you need to be very sure about the quantitative aspects. So investment and turnover, and we need to be quite sure about where these investments and turnovers are, the quantitative aspects of it. 72nd question is a question on central bank digital currency, or what we popularly call as e-rupee. And the Reserve Bank of India has launched e-rupee on a pilot basis among different categories of traders, among hoteliers, so different categories of people. But what we need to understand is that this question was expected, and we have included this in our current affairs magazine as well as in our 75 probable questions. Central bank digital currency, where we have said that central bank digital currency, or e-rupee, is nothing but a digital currency where we do not require any third party for settling transactions. So that was explicitly mentioned in our magazine. So it is possible to make payments in digital currency without using US dollar or SWIFT system. First thing that we need to understand is that the SWIFT system has nothing to do with transactions, currency transactions. It is a messaging system. You might have heard about SWIFT system in Nirav Modi, case. So the first statement is, it is possible to make payments in a digital currency without using US dollar or SWIFT system. That is false. Without using, without using, yes, that is true. In fact, do not require any third party to carry out a transaction between a seller and buyer using central bank digital currency. It is just like, I go to a supermarket, I buy a product. Just like I pay physical cash, I would be in a position to pay central bank digital currency, or e-rupee, from my digital wallet to the digital wallet of seller without any validation from a third party, that is interbank settlements. A digital currency can be distributed with a condition programmed on into it, such as a time frame for spending it. Yes, for example, one of the opportunities that the government sees with regard to central bank digital currency is its ability to be used for making targeted payments. For example, if we want to, if we give central bank digital currency to a household member, she could use this central bank digital currency only to buy food articles from designated shops that would include public distribution system shops. So what we need to understand is that with CBDC, or with such digital currency, not with digital currency, with CBDC, we can program for making targeted, transactions. 73rd question, in the context of finance, the term beta refers to a numeric value that measures the fluctuations of a stock to changes in overall stock market. I don't think any further discussion on that matter is required. So beta, that is a conceptual term with regard to finance.
74th question, that is based on social justice part. So the question is basically self-help groups. So the statement 1, the self-help group program was originally initiated by State Bank of India by providing microcredit to financially deprived. Second statement, in all self-help group, all members of a group take responsibility for a loan that has been taken by an individual members. Third statement, the RRBs or regional rural banks and scheduled commercial banks supports self-help groups. So when you go through this particular question, statement 1, how a commercial bank can be an original initiator for a self-help group support. So it is basically NABARD, National Bank for Agriculture and Rural Development. Statement 1 is wrong. Statement 2 and statement 3 is correct. Because in case of an self-help groups, all members, they are collectively responsible for a loan that is being taken by an individual member who is being a member of that particular group. And third one, RRBs as well as commercial banks. Yes, both of these banks supports self-help groups. So it's option B. Only 2 statements are correct.
Question number 75. Consider the following statements. Statement 1, India's public sector healthcare system largely focuses on curative care with limited preventive, promotive, and rehabilitative care. That is a false statement, because logic, that says that our public healthcare system focuses on prevention. We focus on, promoting a good lifestyle so that, these conditions, lifestyle diseases can be avoided. And also we focus on the public healthcare system focuses on rehabilitative care also. Now, treatment is made available at public healthcare system. So curative care. So that is also a priority of our public healthcare system. So what we need to understand is that the statement, India's public sector healthcare system largely focuses on curative care with limited preventive, promotive, and rehabilitative care. That is a false statement. So we do prioritize preventive, promotive, and rehabilitative care along with curative care. Statement 2, so that itself would help an aspirant to identify the answer. That would be option D. But statement 2, under India's decentralized approach to healthcare delivery, the states are primarily responsible for organizing health services. In fact, health is a state subject, and we know that we have a decentralized public healthcare system. So we have a primary health center at village level. We have a community health center at taluk level or block level. We have a district health center at district level. So then we have medical colleges, we have super specialty tertiary care medical healthcare centers. So we do have a decentralized approach, and states are primarily responsible for organizing health services in India. So statement 1 is incorrect, but statement 2 is correct. 76th question, statement 1. According to United Nations World Water Development Report 2022, the India extracts more than a quarter of world's groundwater withdrawal each year. So that is correct. Now, statement 2, India needs to extract more than a quarter of the world's groundwater each year to satisfy drinking water and sanitation needs of almost 18% of the world's population living in its territory. But what we need to understand is that agriculture sector is the largest sector, or the by share, which extracts the largest volume of groundwater from India. So statement 2 is incorrect. Statement 1 is correct. So any aspirant with logic can easily, zero in on the sector that extracts the largest volume of groundwater is agriculture sector. Then comes industry sector. So they can identify that statement 2 is incorrect. So they can zero in on option C. Now, 77th question. This is a question from Polity. According to Constitution of India, the central government has a duty to protect the states from internal disturbances. Article 355 says so. So that is a correct statement. Constitution of India exempts the states from providing legal counsel to a person held for preventive detention. No. Constitution of India do not exempt the states from providing legal counsel to an individual who has been detained for preventive, who has been held as a preventive detail. Okay. So statement 2 is false. Article 220, Article 22.3 is the relevant article here. According to POTA, Prevention of Terrorism Act 2002, confession of accused before the police cannot be used as an evidence. No, it can be used as an evidence, and in fact, that is one among the most controversial clause within the Prevention of Terrorist Act of 2002. In fact, that itself goes against the very principles of, the Constitution of India. As far as Constitution of India, it prevents self-incrimination of individuals. So that is a fundamental right guaranteed under the Constitution of India to citizens of India. So statement 3, but for that matter, is correct with regard to POTA 2002. So answer is statement 1 is true, and only one. 78th question. 78th question is a international relations question. Which one of the following countries has been suffering from decades of civil strife, civil war, and food shortages, and was in news in recent past for its very severe famine? Somalia. Option D.
Now, 79th question, that is regarding biodiversity conservation. So under the National Biodiversity Act of 2002, we have created National Biodiversity Authority, and for the decentralized management, we have also constituted biodiversity management committees. So consider the following statements. In India, the Biodiversity Management Committee are the key to realization of the objectives under Nagoya Protocol. So first of all, we need to understand what are Nagoya Protocol. That is basically on biosafety. So statement 1 is correct. Statement 2, the Biodiversity Management Committee have important functions in determining access and benefit sharing, including the power to levy collection fees on the access of biological resources within its jurisdiction. Regarding National Biodiversity Act of 2002, there are 3 primary objectives: conservation of biodiversity, fair and equitable sharing of the benefits, and making a kind of knowledge resources to be protected. So over that, second statement is also correct because it is regarding with the benefit sharing, and it is the power with management committees, especially biodiversity management committees, have the power to levy collection fees. So 79th question, it is option C. Both 1 and 2 is the right answer.
Okay, so question number 80. Consider the following statements in respect of election to the President of India. So, members nominated to either House of the Parliament or Legislative Assemblies of States are also eligible to be included in the Electoral College. We know the Electoral College of the President of India comprises of elected members of the Rajya Sabha, elected members of the Lok Sabha, and elected members of the State Legislative Assembly, and in case of states with State Legislative Council, elected members of the State Legislative Council. So nominated members are not part, both at center as well as at state level. Nominated members are not part of the Electoral College of the President of India. I'm sorry, State Legislative Council, no. Even the elected members of the State Legislative Councils are not part of the Electoral College of the President of India. So let me repeat. Elected members of Rajya Sabha, elected members of Lok Sabha, elected members of state legislative assemblies, including National Capital Territory, Delhi, UT, Pondicherry. Okay, so nominated members, that is false. Now, higher the number of elective assembly seats, higher is the value of vote of each MLA of that state. So if you see how the vote share is distributed, we would come to know that higher is the number of elective assembly seats, lower is the value of the vote of each MLA of that state. Okay, not higher. It has an inverse proportion. So we have discussed in the class how this vote for each MLA is calculated with regard to the elections to the office of the President of India. Value of vote of each MLA of Madhya Pradesh is greater than that of Kerala. So if anyone knows that statement 2 is false, they can right away say that statement 3 is also false, because the number of MLAs in Madhya Pradesh Assembly is more than number of MLAs in the State Legislative Assembly of Kerala. So applying that logic, statement 3 is also false. The value of vote of each MLA of Pondicherry is higher than that of Arunachal Pradesh, because the ratio of total population to the total number of elective seats in Puducherry is greater as compared to Arunachal Pradesh. That is a true statement. So statement 4 is the only true statement, and option A, only 1.
Moving to a few history questions. 81. With reference to Indian history, Alexander Ray, H. Longhurst, Robert Sewell, James Burgess, and Walter Elliot, they're all archaeologists. They're all archaeologists, and all of them have been well known for their archaeological excavations related to stupas, which is related to Buddhism. So archaeological excavations is what they are known for. 81st is the answer for 81st question is A. Now, 82nd question, sites and well known for Base Nagar Shaivite Cave Shrine, Bhaja Buddhist Cave Shrine, Sittanavasal Jain Cave Shrine. If you look at this, Sittanavasal was directly given in our magazine. It was also in news. Sittanavasal is a Jain cave shrine in Tamil Nadu. Second one, Bhaja, or otherwise known as Bhaje caves, is in Maharashtra. It is a group of 22 caves, and it is a Buddhist cave shrine. But when it comes to, so both the sentences are, both the pairs are right. Now, when it comes to Base Nagar, we have both Udayagiri caves near to that. Also, we have Heliodorus pillar near to that. Now, if it is Udayagiri caves, then we have Shaivite shrines there. But if it is Heliodorus pillar, then Heliodorus pillar called that pillar as Garuda pillar, worshipped Garuda, which is a Vaishnavite shrine. Okay. So mostly it could be the Vaishnavite shrine, and the first option could be wrong. But if you go a little deep into it, you may not be able to say it is perfectly wrong. It is completely wrong also. We'll wait for again UPSC's answer key. But so far, second and third, let's take it as Heliodorus pillar and Vaishnavite shrine. So first one is wrong. Second and third, only 2 is right here. So B is the option. Now, 83rd question. This, if you apply common sense also, you would get the answer. You need not know the dates and all. See, statement 1, 7th August is declared as the National Handloom Day. Statement 2, which is the reason, it was in 1905 that the Swadeshi movement was launched in the same day. Similar questions have been asked before, not in the same kind. The Swadeshi movement means we are focusing on our own endeavors. The factories and the education sector, we promoted whatever was ours, and we boycotted what was there, what was coming from the European countries. That means if you relate to it, yes, handloom, it could be. If you did not know also, it could be the answer. So the answer here is both the statements, they are right, and the second statement is the correct explanation to the first statement. So here the answer is A.
Now, question number 84. Consider the following statements in respect of the national flag of India according to the Flag Code of India 2000. Statement one of the standard sizes of the national flag of India is 600 millimeter by 400 millimeter. So there is that size specification is not given, even though the ratio of the length to height, that is, or width of the flag shall be 3:2. That is correct. Statement 2 is correct. But the size specification given in statement 1, 600 millimeter by 400 millimeter, is not specified in the flag code. So statement 1 is incorrect, but statement 2 is correct. Now, question number 85. Consider the following statements in respect of the Constitution Day. Statement 1. Constitution of India is celebrated on 26th. Constitution Day is celebrated on 26 November every year to promote constitutional value among citizens. Quite logical. It is correct. Statement 2, on 26th November 1949, the Constituent Assembly of India set up a drafting committee under the chairmanship of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar to prepare a draft Constitution of India. That is a false statement. Why do we celebrate 26th November 1949 as the Constitution Day? Because it was on that day the Constituent Assembly of India has adopted the Constitution of India, and on January 26, 1950, the Constitution of India was enacted and our republic came into being. So statement 1 is true and statement 2 is incorrect. So answer would be option C.
Statement 2, if you apply common sense, you will know that it is incorrect, because from 26 November 1949 to 26 January 1950, there was only 2 months time, and it is impossible to draft a constitution like India.
So you can apply logic there. So 86th question, statement 1, Switzerland is one of the leading exporters of gold in terms of value. Correct. Statement 2, Switzerland has the second largest gold reserves in the world. No, it has the 7th largest gold reserves in the world. Statement 1 is correct, but statement 2 is incorrect. Now, 87th question. Recently, the United States of America, USA and European Union, EU, have launched Trade and Technology Council. That was in news. Correct. Statement 2. The USA and EU claim that through this, that is through the Trade and Technology Council, they are trying to bring technological progress and physical productivity under their control. So that is quite, if you apply your logic, that is quite undiplomatic. So we can, using logic itself, we can say that that is a, that don't sound true. But basically, even though that could be the objective, the USA, they won't claim it explicitly. So basically what they claim, openly is that these are platforms in order to deepen the relationship between EU and US in areas of global trade, economy, and, technology challenges. So we know that recently there have been, certain, groupings are being formed or forged among developed economies as well as with, democratic countries to pursue actively, de-risking China initiative. So it is not about decoupling, but not complete disengagement, but about, decentralizing the supply chain network. So such initiatives. 88th question, statement 1. We did expect this question because for the first time we have, the exports of India has grown and it crossed $400 billion US. Our target was 400, but we reached around 400 billion mark 2 weeks prior to it. So we actually made around 420 billion export. We exported goods and goods worth around 400 billion by value. India accounts for 3.2% of global exports of goods. That is a false statement. It is around 1.6%. Statement 2, many local companies and some foreign companies operating in India have taken advantage of India's production linked incentive scheme. So India has emerged as a major exporter of, mobile phones. India is planning to emerge as a global hub of electronic design system and manufacturing, with production linked incentive scheme, which is in fact an initiative to make India or make India as a global hub for manufacturing. So statement 1 is incorrect, but statement 2 is correct. 89th question, the Stability and Growth Pact of European Union is a treaty. So first statement, limits the levels of budgetary deficit of countries of European Union. Second statement, make the countries of the European Union to share their infrastructure facilities. Third statement, enables countries of European Union to share their technologies. How many of the above statements are correct? So stability and growth, these are two keywords that we need to understand. So when we hear these keywords and then go through the statement, we can easily identify that this is basically an agreement among European Union to limit the levels of budgetary deficits of countries of European Union. So basically this is a agreement among European Union countries to have a sustainable, macroscopic scenario in future. It is almost similar to what we have drafted, Fiscal Responsibility and Budgetary Management Act. Along the lines of FRBM Act, the European Union, it is a multilateral platform that has, made this Stability and Growth Pact treaty. Then 90th question, recently, all countries of United Nations have adopted the first ever compact for international migration, Global Compact for Safe, Orderly and Regular Migration. So I have to confess that we haven't discussed this question, neither in our current affairs magazine nor in our Vedic preliminary test series, because this agreement, International Governmental Conference on Migration itself, was adopted in 2018, almost 3 years back. 2018, almost 5 years back at Marrakesh. And so far 168 countries have signed it, not all. So this is basically an extreme statement. Even UPSC don't expect students to go to, around 5 years of current affairs. So all the countries of United Nations, so that itself is an extreme statement. So an aspirant with logic can easily say that that is a false statement. The objectives and commitments stated in GCM are binding on UN member countries. So anyone who has gone through, multilateral agreements would come to know that most of these agreements are voluntary in nature, apart from few, like, the Kyoto Protocol that was legally binding on certain Annex A countries, or for that matter, the Montreal Protocol, which is legally binding. Most of the protocols, even the Paris Climate Change Agreement, they are basically voluntary agreements, okay, not legally binding. Then the GCM addresses the internal migration or internally displaced people also in its objectives and commitments. So the agreement itself talks about international migration, not about these internally displaced people or, internal migration. So all the statements, none of these statements are true. Statement 1, statement 2, statement 3 are false. So with some logic, I believe that almost all aspirants could have answered this question. 91st question is with regard to home guards. Home guards are raised under Home Guards Act and rules of the center government, no rules of the respective state and union territories. Statement 1 is false. The role of the home guards is to serve as an auxiliary force to the police in the maintenance of internal security. Yes. To prevent the infiltration on international border or coastal areas, the border wing home guards battalions have been raised in some states. Yes. Most of the border states in India have raised, border wing home guards with the purpose to prevent infiltration on internal border as well as along coastal areas. Now, question number 92. With reference to India, consider the following pairs. Unauthorized wearing of police or military uniform is an offense that is punishable under Official Secrets Act of 1923. It is a schedule, it is an offense. Knowingly misleading or otherwise interfering with a police officer or military officer when engaged in their duties. It is not an offense under Indian Evidence Act of 1872. Celebratory gunfire which can endanger the personal safety of others. Arms Amendment Act of 2019. It is a scheduled offense. So you must have heard about celebratory gunfire during marriages in North India. So that is an offense under Arms Amendment Act of 2019. So 1 and 3 are true. Only 2. Now, 93rd question. These are types of questions that we should expect because these are questions from conflict zones. Regions often mentioned in news: North Kivu and Ituri, Democratic Republic of Congo, Nagorno-Karabakh, that is the region, disputed region between Armenia and Azerbaijan, where they had a brief war, but that was not, heavily covered in media. Kherson and Zaporizhzhia. So you must have heard about those places when, Ukraine, when Russia invaded Ukraine. So dispute. So all these pairs are incorrectly matched. So all 3, sorry, none. How many of the above pairs are correctly matched? None of the pairs are correctly matched. 94th question, statement 1. Israel has established diplomatic relations with some Arab states. In fact, Israel has established diplomatic relations with Jordan. It has established diplomatic relations with Egypt, and very recently through the Abraham Accords, it has established diplomatic relations with UAE, established diplomatic relations with Bahrain. Now, under the mediation of United States, the Arab Peace Initiative mediated by Saudi Arabia was signed by Israel and Arab League. No, the Arab League calls for Israel to immediately evacuate all the land that was, occupied during the 6-day war, and including a settlement in accordance with, 2-nation settlement under the, as per the UN mandate. But these were immediately rejected by Israel. So statement 2 is incorrect and statement 1 is correct about, Abraham Accords. We have discussed in our current affairs magazine. 95th question is about sports awards. Major Dhyan Chand Khel Ratna Award. So this is awarded for the most spectacular and outstanding performance by a sportsman over the period of last 4 years. Correct. Arjuna Award. This is for the outstanding performance in the field of sports for a period of 4 hours. So in the, hierarchy, Major Dhyan Chand Khel Ratna Award comes first. After comes Arjuna Award. Then Dronacharya Award, as the name suggests, to honor eminent coaches who have successfully trained sports persons or teams. And Rashtriya Khel Protsahan Puraskar is for corporate entities as well as for sport council bodies, or for that matter, NGOs who have, patronized sports. So only 2, which is Major Dhyan Chand Award and Dronacharya Award. 96th question. This question was expected, and this question is about 44th Chess Olympiad 2022. It was first time that the Chess Olympiad was held in India. It was held in India. It was held at Chennai. The official mascot was named Thambi. Yes. Trophy for the winning team in the open section is the Hamilton Russell Cup, and trophy for the winning team in the women's section was the Menchik Cup. So statement 3 and statement 4, it was swapped. The cups were swapped. So only 2. It was the first time the Chess Olympiad was held in India. It was held at Chennai, and the official mascot was Thambi. 97th question. This is also a question from conflict areas. Donbass, Ukraine, not from Syria. Kachin, Myanmar, Kachin, Arakan. Tigray, we have been discussing about Ethiopia, Eritrea conflict. Tigray Liberation Force. So Tigray is from North Yemen. It is Ethiopia, Eritrea, a disputed zone between Ethiopia and Eritrea. So none of the pairs have been correctly matched. 98th question in the recent years, Chad, Guinea, Mali, and Sudan caught international attention for which one of the following reasons common to all of them? All of them had successful coups. So answer would be option D.
Now 99th question, there is an again question regarding with green hydrogen. Consider the following heavy industries: fertilizers, oil refineries, as well as steel plants. So the question is, green hydrogen is expected to play a significant role in decarbonizing how many of the above industries? So first of all, you have to know about, there is a specific term that is mentioned in your NCERT textbook, calorific balance. How much amount of energy has been emitted once a particular fuel has been burned. And among the high calorific value fuel, the one is hydrogen. So over the heavy industries that they have given, fertilizers, oil refineries, or even steel, we are actually using a significant amount of coal for the generation of energy. So basically, whenever there is an increasing in energy use, especially depends upon the coal, they're actually making a lot of carbon emission. So green hydrogen is expected to play a significant role regarding decarbonization of all these industries. So it is option C, all three is the right answer.
Now the last question, 100. This question is about G20. We should expect this question because India has assumed the presidency of G20 and the G20 summit would be held in India in 2023. G20 group was originally established as a platform for finance ministers and central bank governors to discuss international economic and financial issues. That was true. So the origin of G20 stems from the economic uncertainties during the 2008 global economic crisis. And the second statement, digital public infrastructure is one of India's G20 priorities. So the digital public infrastructure, delegate summit was in fact held at Kumaragam in Kerala. So statement 2 is also true. So you might have heard about World Bank appreciating India with regard to the digital initiatives launched by India, the inclusive nature of those initiatives. So in that context also that could be the reason why this particular aspect was asked. Statement 2 was included. So digital public infrastructure is one of India's G20 priorities. So you might have heard about India Stack. So these are major, digital public infrastructure. We will be discussing about it in a detailed manner later. So answer would be option C, both 1 and 2.
Bring us to the end of the questions. Now, do you have any questions in the chat box? Participants may have been busy listening and they may not have found time to ask questions. So we can wait for a few more minutes if they have any questions.
I request the participants to put the questions that you have, the queries that you have, or the doubts that you have in the chat box, so that we'll spend like 5 to 10 minutes covering up the doubts. And in case if you're left with any more doubts while you're studying, you can still contact your mentor. We're all available here.
basically grouping of 90 countries and European Union. Now, the origin of G20 can be traced to the Washington summit that was held in 2009. Then later, Pittsburgh summit was held, London summit was held. So it started out as a grouping where the governors of central banks, Reserve Bank of India governor, American Federal Reserve governor. So the governors used to meet and discuss the global macroeconomic challenges. Then finance ministers of these leading, economies, not major economies, used to come together and discuss those issues. And I believe that it was at the London summit. From there onwards, the G20 was, the grouping was identified as a grouping of major economies, major 20 economies, and they decided to come out with, annual summits as we see right now. Okay. Value of
The value of ratio given comprises 3:2. If we calculate it, 600 into 400.
So with regard to flag code, there is no, as I've told you, statement 2 is correct. That is, the length to width of the flag has to be 3:2, but 600 by 400 millimeter length to width flag is not approved under the dimensions. So the dimension 600 to 400 meter, even though it conforms to the 3:2 ratio, it is not, provided in that flag code. Not 600 by 400. I believe 630 by some other width is provided.
900 by 600.
900 by 600 is a, I think 630 by 630 millimeter length and corresponding value is there, not 600 millimeter by 400 millimeter.
Question number 4.
Vishakhadatta. Devi Chandragupta is written by Vishakhadatta. Mudra Rakshasa is also written by Vishakhadatta. It was written during the Gupta period. Okay. Now, Hammira Mahakavya, not a very popular work. It is written by Naya Chandra Suri, and it is a biography of Hammira. He was a king of the Chahamanas. Okay. Now, Milinda Panho, let me keep it there. Niti Vakyamrita, it is again written by Somadeva Suri. Okay, so here we understand that second and fourth pair is right. Third one, that could be where you might have had a question. Milinda Panho, okay, see, in the post-Mauryan period, from the northwestern part, we have had some invasions. Okay, first came Indo-Greeks, then came Shakas, then came Parthians, then came Kushanas. So the Indo-Greeks, when they came here, Menander was an Indo-Greek ruler. He came into contact with the Buddhist culture in our country. And then he came into contact with a Buddhist scholar named Nagasena. And Milinda or Menander had so many questions about Buddhism and existence and philosophy. He asked Nagasena, and this dialogue is actually there in this Milinda Panho, otherwise known as the Questions of Milinda. Now, this Nagasena or the Buddhist scholar, which is mentioned in Milinda Panho, he is mentioned as Nagarjuna by R.S. Sharma in an old NCERT book. That is the only issue we have here. Otherwise, Nagasena is Nagasena. Nagarjuna is a later figure. He appears in a later period. Okay. So in that case, if UPSC has taken R.S. Sharma's book as a base, then probably they'll end up in trouble. But Nagasena is the ideal answer. Okay, Milinda Panho, it should be Nagasena, it shouldn't be Nagarjuna. Nagarjuna is another person who belongs to another period of time. Okay.
64.
My question?
Embrace. That is
Okay. Okay, all right. Question, sir, can you please confirm answer for? All right, 64th question, that's all. The temperature contrast between continents and oceans is greater during summer than in winter. Temperature contrast means the difference between the temperature. If one is too hot and one is too cold, the temperature contrast will be more. Now one is too hot and the other is a little less hot, it will be, the contrast will be lesser than the first condition. Having said that, now in summer, generally both continents and the oceans, they get hotter. But the oceans keep the hotness, keep that warmth for a little while longer, and the land would give out that warmth earlier. There will be contrast, but you take the case of winter, for the little time they get this sunlight, the oceans would become warm, but the land will also become warm, but the oceans would not give up this warmth very faster, but the land would get cooled off very faster in the winter season. So the land gets cooled off faster, but the ocean will still be warm. The difference will be more in winter than in summer, theoretically saying. But then there are sources that say it's more, the contrast is more in summer. There are sources that say the contrast is more in winter. That is why I said there was a confusion there. It could have been great if UPSC could have made the question a little more specific, but thinking like using common sense, the first sentence there is wrong. The second sentence, specific heat of water is more than that of land. The specific heat is that the energy that it takes to heat up 1 unit of the volume of water. Okay, that is more in water than in land. Yes, that is right. I hope that is clear.
So coming to 34th question, the doubt is that whether First Amendment of 1951 or the 42nd Amendment of 1951 is the constitutional amendment that is widely believed to be enacted to overcome the judicial interpretation of fundamental rights. So the answer is First Amendment of 1951 only, because when the Constitution of India was enacted on January 26, 1950, the fundamental rights per se was, absolute in nature. So even if I had absolute freedom of speech and expression, but, it came into conflict with many aspects. So it was the judicial interpretation that forced the Parliament of India to enact the First Amendment Act of 1951 that made the fundamental rights, justify, not justiciable, that made fundamental rights qualified in nature, which means that they are subject to certain restrictions. So we cannot express our freedom of speech and expression that goes against the, principles of morality, defamation. So there are certain grounds that restricts the freedom of speech and expression. Now, if at all, if there is a constitutional amendment that I believe comes close to the First Amendment of Act that that has been enacted to overcome the judicial interpretation of the fundamental rights, would not be 42nd but 44th Amendment, because the right to property was made it was transferred from a fundamental, or it was a fundamental right before that. Now it is a legal right. So that was through the 44th Constitutional Amendment Act. The 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act was primarily a tussle between which has the primacy, whether it is the directive principles of state policy or fundamental rights. So the UPSC in MCQ, they would be only one answer, and I would say the most appropriate answer would be the First Amendment Act of 1951. Okay, so that would be my take on it.
Okay. Now, since there are not many questions pending, so we will wind up this session. But before we wind up, let me tell you a few things about the 2023 prelims. As I already mentioned, that you should expect the unexpected. That is what the UPSC, that is a message which the UPSC has given through this GS1 paper. Another thing which you must remember that another message which UPSC probably wants to convey to all of you is that you should not be totally guided by the syllabus. You have to go beyond the syllabus if you have to do well in the civil service examination. This is going to happen in the mains examination also. If you restrict your studies exclusively to the syllabus, you may be in for a surprise. There can be questions from outside the syllabus. In this questions which we have discussed today, there are a few questions which are not in the syllabus at all. They are not even part of current affairs. So normally we say that prelims, civil service prelims is equal to syllabus, that is NCERT syllabus plus current affairs. But this time it has gone even beyond that. Even current affairs, nearly 50% of the questions are based on current affairs, directly or indirectly. Some of them have been inspired directly by the current affairs. Some of them have, the current affairs might have given them just a hint that, okay, this thing you can ask a question. So based on that hint, they might have asked a question, but nearly 50% of the questions are inspired by current affairs, though they may not be directly dictated by the current affairs. So you must be prepared for questions which may not refer to current affairs of the previous, say, 1 year. Current affairs definition can be extended beyond 1 year. It can be 4 or 5 years back. Even then, UPSC would consider it as a current affair and they would ask questions based on. Similarly, there are some questions like when we were preparing for the civil service examination, we didn't have a syllabus. We had a general knowledge paper which didn't have a syllabus. So this question paper also not 100% based on syllabus. There are few questions which will be beyond, and I suspect that in the mains examination also you might get questions which are not exactly based on syllabus, but it will test your basic awareness. Are you aware about what is happening around in the world? Are you prepared to ask questions to the textbook? The textbook may not give you the answer. If the textbook does not give you the answer, you have to find answers to yourself. So please make it a practice to ask questions and find answers yourself. Then only you will be able to answer the questions properly, whether it is in the prelims examination or in the mains examination. So your approach has to be modified according to the current situation. Then only you will be able to perform well in the civil service examination. I hope you will work hard. Some of you might already feel that you have passed the GS1 paper because last year it was the cutoff percentage was around 88 out of 200, less than 88 out of 200. The year before that it was around 92. So this year, if you think that you have scored 90 out of 200, you are very likely to be qualified for the mains examination. But we don't know what would be the cutoff mark, but I am just making a guess because this year's question paper is certainly tough. The difficulty level is fairly high, so you can expect to be qualified for the mains examination if you get 90 out of 200. But that is not the last word on it. We will have to wait for the cutoff mark or the result of the prelims examination, then only we will know. So I wish all of you the very best for your preparation for the mains. Even if you qualified for, you are not you think you are not qualified for the mains, please continue to study, continue for the preparation of mains and prelims examination for next year. And I hope all of you would have benefited from the coaching you obtained from Vedic classes, and certainly that would have helped you in scoring very high marks in the prelims examination. Continue to do that in the mains examination also. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We'll see you in the next live session. Prepare well for the mains examination. It's okay for those who have not qualified. We are still with you. Thank you so much and good night.